Right, well, now that I appear to have a little bit more enforced time upon my hands, what I'm looking at doing is possibly doing a few short videos to show some of the tools that I make for myself to make life easier on the car and restoring the car. And this is the first one. Let me just show you something. Now then, like most of you, the first thing that needs to come off the bottom of these cars before we get the rust off and before we start welding is a horrible undersealer that people seem to have splodged on. And it's either gone rock hard and allowed the water to pass behind it and hence the floors or whatever have rotted out. Or we just want to do a nice job and take the old stuff off, the old underseal off, and see what's underneath. And if it's okay, we reapply more modern stuff, and probably in a better way than people that did it last. A few ways of doing it. Basic way I think most people do is hit it with a heat gun and scrape it off with some manner of either an old chisel, file down paint scrapers like these, whatever, and you scrape it all off. And sometimes that's unavoidable. I certainly did it with my E-type. I did the whole thing by hand, and I used these. What might be a better option for us is one of these, which I've recently discovered, which is really, I've used one in the past to get rid of rust. It's a needle scaler, and basically you apply air pressure into the thing via your compressor, and these needles basically punch in and out, I think at random by the look at them, and basically they knock the undersealer off. Let's have a quick look at those. Now, as they knock the undersealer off, one, they don't generate any heat. Now, most of this undersealer is actually bitumastic, so it's an oiled bitumen kind of based stuff. As soon as you heat it up, it reactivates it and it sticks to the damn floor, which is why you can't really go at it with one of these, because as soon as you do, it heats up, melts, and basically fuses itself to the knots in the wire wheels. So you can't really use one of those to get that off. But one of these you can, especially if it's already separated from the floor, and even better if it's already gone hard, because these will just chip it off, don't generate any heat, and all you're left with then are, excuse the term, but you're left with basically a stack of skid marks just to grind off. And those, yeah, there's little enough material there so that even if you do heat it up, it's still going to come off with the wire wheel. So that's what I use to get the underseal off, and I'll probably do more of that later today. After that, yes, to get the leavings of that off and to actually get rid of the rust, back to the decent metal before we start cutting, you're going to use one of these. Wire wheel. This is a knotted wire wheel, much more efficacious than the little, fine hair ones, although these do definitely have their place. This one is much more effective. If you've got a weak point in the floor, this will find it. If your floor metal's thin, this will go straight bloody through. And I don't mind that, as long as it's not because I've been heavy-handed. As long as it's just found a weak point, that's okay. I can cut it out and I can put a plate in. Fair enough. So, problem being, you're lying on your back, you got this thing which has got a motor and everything else attached to it. It's really quite heavy, okay? And it's hard to get into the tighter fit places. Now, to the point of this video, this is not an earth-shattering invention or anything, but it's just something that's dawned on me. I might as well do. What I've done from eBay, which is where most of us seem to get most stuff, I bought a cheap, I think it was a 1 kilowatt drill, is it? 1050 watts, so it's probably about 600 by most standards. But anyway, it's reasonably powerful electric drill, not a battery operated drill, but an electric drill. On this, I've fitted a decent flexible drive, and even a flexible drive is not expensive. A decent one now, I think this was about 10 quid or something for a decent flexible drive. Now that, because it's not one of the expensive ones, it came with a Jacobs chuck with a key, and then I bought a keyless chuck to put on the end. So very, very simple. Undo that, and you can put any head on it that you like. You don't have to, you can just use the key and just have it shorted if you want to, which I may well do actually, because this has proven to be a bit long. But even that was 5 quid, and it's really good quality. So what you're left with is a solution which doesn't really cost any more. In fact, it costs a bit less than a decent angle grinder, which will actually burn out probably in the process of doing a car floor, a complete one. So I'm left with 30 quid for the drill. I think it was about 10 quid, I think, for the flexi shaft, and about a fiver for this. And now what I've got is something with a head which is really quite small. I can get into all the small spaces. I'm not lifting up a heavy drill with a motor and everything attached, and it's much easier to actually maneuver while you're upside down underneath the car. Now for today's build, all I'm going to do is basically make a small carrier for this, which will sit on the floor, because I don't really want it just lying on the floor like this. Just a small carrier that will sit on the floor. Although I'm not probably going to use this handle, it does provide a rather nice bolting point here. So I'll probably use that and a bit of a cradle to bolt this to. So it can basically sit on the floor, I can take this end and then do whatever I'm going to do with it to the bottom of the car. Right, let's see how we get on. Onwards. Now what I'm thinking is really quite a simple little structure. So obviously I've dismantled this for ease of handling, taking the Flexi-Drive off and stuff, is use that as a base. I want to try and do this out of all scrap, so basically it costs nothing. That as a base, that sits on there, and then an angled piece up here to bolt to this. To make the base nice and steady for the floor, just a couple of pieces of this old pipe from a swing, I think it is, welded onto the bottom. So maybe something that big across the bottom, and the same for the front, and just make a little bit of a cradle for the back there. So that's the idea. So let's get this pipe cut and we'll take it from there. Now I'm not really measuring this, but I'd quite like a nice straight cut around this pipe. Easiest way to do it is a bit of tape there, roll it round, keep it as straight as you can, and whilst not being perfect, it's better than, you know, just trying to draw it around the pipe or do it by eye. So let's see where we're up to here. There's our feet, there's our main body. There we go, and that should definitely be strong enough to support any torque or anything off that. Now what we need is a piece to come off the side and attach to this. Right, so let's put this back on here. It also means, by the way, that if this is obviously will be bolted to this, then I can actually remove the drill very, very easily just with this twist handle, and I can go and use the drill for something else if I want to. Okay, so rather than have the back of this resting on here, maybe have it raised a little bit, so the cradle at the back is going to need to be slightly higher. Let's just get a ruler. So with that on here, that raised up slightly. No definite measurements, I've just got my fingers in there, as you can see, to there, and the height off the ground is, let's see, it is, let's call it 6.5 centimeters for cash. 6.5 centimeters. Okay, so we need it to be 6.5 centimeters high, and from the side it will be, should we say 1.8? 1.8, so 1 centimeter 8 from the side. So we'll just draw that because I'm definitely going to forget that. So what we're looking to make then is we have our square box section here, and we've got the loop of the drill which comes out there, pretty much that there. So we need something which is going to be, say, 65mm, and then outwards we said 1.8 centimeters. Right, so that's what we need to build. Just this little piece that's going to sit across here and come on. Okay, so still using a piece of scrap. I'm looking to put this on here. Maybe bend it in, doesn't have to be perfect. And we need it to, it's nice and thick, it's about 4mm this. So roll that onto there. Bend this end upwards until it's the right height. And I think drill a hole and jobs are good, and put a bolt. And let's see how we do. Right, so let's see how and if any of this fits together. There's a little bit of a gap here I hadn't intended, but the weld along there and there will be more than strong enough, and I'll probably weld something in here anyway to that. So it's going to leave a little bit of a gap once that's far enough over, but I'll put a couple of blobs into there, I'll be fine. That's looking more or less like it, ain't it? Right, let's clean things up, maybe get a bit of welding and a bit more test fitting, and we'll look at making this back cradle. Don't know if this is any help, by the way. You can see what I'm doing. I'm welding fairly thick steel to this very thin pipe, and what I'm doing is striking the arc on the thick stuff, basically letting the metal dribble down, then put a little bit more heat on it to fuse it to the thin stuff. If I do it the other way around, I'll blow a hole straight through this thin stuff before I even get any penetration at all on the thick stuff. So thick to thin, and it's got to be a win. Yeah, that rhymes as well. Onwards. So we're looking to put a cradle somewhere across the back of this. All I'm going to do is roughly mark out something on here, trial fit it a few times till it fits, and then we'll transfer it to a piece of steel. where this sits level, there somewhere. So we need to mark where this needs to sit on the base, and it looks to be. Let's see. Right, okay, so the idea is that I'm going to cut a slot in here, so this sits over the end of this, so that would make it there, and the welding width, or the width of the thing so I can weld it on, is going to be something like that. Again, I'm not being super critical with it, you know, it's just a quick homemade tool. Right, I'll just get this cut out. Okay, now acid test, and it just needs to be near enough for me to weld. Ready? Job is a good one. Yes, that'll do. Right, so before I forget, I'm going to drill a couple of holes in the ends of this so that I can put a cable tie or something on just to make doubly sure this thing doesn't move. And here we go, a little bit of rubber edging. I suppose I'm lucky with a project like this. I've been collecting bits and pieces from other projects and things for years, so I can just kind of go in the shed and see what I've got that'll do the job. Okay, so again, this doesn't have to be perfect, and I was thinking of gluing it on, but don't really know yet. I may not want to glue on with the shape that it's going to have to adopt, but that's not a problem because the actual act of the drill sitting on it is going to keep this on its edge, so no biggie. It'll be awkward though, because this stuff does not like turning in on itself, but we'll get it there. Once it's on, I'll figure out the you see this is fighting back in it. I'll figure out the length it needs to be and cut it and move on. Never get it on. Oh yeah, right, okay. There you go, as if by magic, job done, pretty much. Right, so let's see, we can pop this on here and decide where it's going to need to sit to support that drill nicely. Just a little bit of, there you go, so the drill is pressing on it firmly. Right, and I'll tell you what, I'll probably just put a couple of tacks in just while that's sitting on there, and then take the drill off and then weld it on properly. So that's it really. I've stripped a lot of the bits off it now. Everything that can be stripped. The rest of this is all obviously welded on, just to make it a bit more user friendly. I'm going to round off all of these corners, make sure there's no sharp bits, and then I think we'll fire some paint at it. There we go. Looks about done to me. Sturdy little thing it is. I think we'll chuck some paint on it and call that done. So quick splodge with some etch primer, I think. But I could just hand paint it, couldn't I, with some hammerite? That's probably the best way. Mind you, the aerosol will dry quick if I want to get this finished today. Oh, let's just aerosol it black, it'll be fine. So that's all you need for a shop tool. It doesn't have to be perfect, you know, just to toss it up a little bit to make a reasonable job. Right, there we go. Nice and solid, it's going nowhere. It sits anywhere, it sits on the floor, sits on the bench, whatever. I think that's pretty well supported. Right, so we'll just put our Flexi-Drive on this end. Right, so flexible drive just connects in just like a drill. You've seen these before. Yeah, hopefully with the car restoration, a lot of the jobs can become a real pain, you know, if they're difficult to do. And it's meant to be a hobby, well, for us anyway, it's meant to be a hobby, it's not meant to be some horrible onerous task. Because you get enough onerous tasks, next thing you find out you don't want to go in the garage. And then you find yourself selling your project. So, you know, if you can find a way to make something nice and easy, then why not, you know, why not? And really quite inexpensive as well. Well, I'll pick that up, mate. There we go. Right, should we test it? Yes, we shall. So a couple of things to remember when you do buy your drill. Get one with a fair bit of power to it, or you'll end up burning the thing out. You want a variable speed trigger, preferably with a speed dial on it. And it also needs to be lockable. The lock for this is on the other side, because you don't want to be holding this with one hand and this with the other hand here. So lockable trigger with variable speed and preferably a dial. So we just turn this over to make sure the thing's not on hammer action, because that is decidedly not required. There we go. Let's see how we do. There we go. And don't forget, you can stick a drill in the end of this, you can stick a burr, a rotary file, anything you put in a drill, obviously you can put on the end of this, and you don't necessarily have to have it on this extension either. Probably would be easier to have it on this smaller thing, and the smaller chuck, and not be reaching so far, which I might well do. If I'm going to use the same tool for a long time, then I'll just put it in this one. That's it, that is job done. I hope this is of some use to you. Maybe it's giving you an idea of a project while you're sitting at home, you know, not going to work or whatever you're doing during these troubled times. Yeah, nice little project, easy to do, and doesn't cost that much. Right, I'm just going to use it to get the rust off the bottom of the car now. Onwards.